Hey there, welcome to This Explainer. Grab a cup of coffee, maybe take a deep breath, because today we're tackling something that so many of us face as parents. Let's imagine a scene for a second, and honestly, this might feel a little too familiar. Your daughter comes home from school, and she's just unusually quiet. You ask how her day was, and eventually she opens up and tells you that three girls intentionally stopped speaking the exact moment she walked near them. And then it gets worse. Later on, she finds out a private joke about her is making the rounds in a group chat, and one of those girls actually told the others not to invite her to an upcoming birthday party. Now, nothing was broken, no one hit her, and a teacher, well, they probably didn't see a single thing.
Hearing your kids say something like that, it is incredibly confusing and, man, it makes you anxious. But because there aren't any physical bruises, it's just so hard to know, is this real harm or is it just, ordinary trouble? A lot of parents in this exact moment think to themselves, well, this just sounds like friendship trouble. It's not bullying. Girls don't really bully, they just have drama. But I'm here to tell you, friend to friend, we really need to look a bit closer.
So we have to ask ourselves this big question. Is this really just girl drama, or is it bullying? If we miss the signs here, us adults can completely overlook the very real harm being done to a child's friendships and, honestly, their whole sense of belonging. And we know belonging matters deeply during those childhood and teen years. If we dismiss these subtle little actions just because they don't leave a visible mark, our kids learn that we might not actually help them unless someone is physically hurting them.
We've got to break down this myth that bullying is just boys fighting on a playground. It's time to stop putting kids into these neat little boxes based on gender, because girls absolutely can and do use all forms of bullying. They use social bullying, right? Spreading rumors or leaving people out on purpose. They use verbal bullying, like cruel jokes. They use online bullying. Think about someone being removed from a group chat again and again. And yes, they can even use physical bullying, like blocking a doorway just to frighten someone. We have to focus on the actual behavior, not the gender stereotypes.
Which brings us to some pretty common mistakes that we well-meaning parents tend to make. The first one? Using the phrase girl drama. When we call it girl drama, we're taking serious behavior and making it sound perfectly normal, even harmless. Look, a disagreement over where to sit in the cafeteria? That's a short conflict. A repeated, targeted plan to isolate one child? That is not drama. So instead of just shrugging off repeated harm as a phase, a much better response is simply saying, hey, friendship problems happen, but repeated harm is not something you have to accept. Tell me exactly what happened. And that leads right into another reflex we almost all have: calling the other child a mean girl. It's such a common cliche, right? But the problem is, it turns a behavior into an identity. It makes us feel like this child will never change, and honestly, it just sparks more gossip. The absolute key here is to name the specific action. Saying she spread a rumor or she told the others to leave you out gives everyone clear, undeniable facts to respond to. Labels? Labels just create bigger fights.
Okay, here's another one. And this reflex is super common for parents and schools, forcing a face-to-face apology. We want to put the kids in a room together and just say, talk it out, say you're sorry. But hold on, if one child has more social power and has literally used a whole group against the other, that situation can be genuinely unsafe. The targeted child might just nod and agree to everything out of pure fear, just trying to escape the room. We absolutely have to protect safety first, learn the facts, and then figure out if a meeting is actually a useful step.
Now, I know when our kids are hurting, those mama bear instincts flare right up. We've all been tempted to fire off a heated text to the neighborhood Facebook page or the team group chat. But doing that, it usually just spreads the rumor even further. And worse, it often leads to the targeted child getting punished by their peers for bringing adults into it. It totally backfires. We have to share the facts only with the specific people who actually have the power to act on them. Keep it private, folks. And sometimes, out of pure, total frustration, we might look at our kid and ask, why do you keep going back to them? Just stop being friends with them. Without meaning to, we're blaming the friendship itself. But we have to remember that for a kid, leaving a group might mean eating lunch totally alone, or losing their spot on a sports team, or instantly becoming the next target of the gossip. So try not to shame your child for wanting to stay connected. Instead, help them figure out how to build safer choices.
Section 1. Conflict versus bullying. Identifying the difference.
To figure out what we're actually dealing with, we can use 4 crucial checks: pattern, power, purpose, and repair. Let's walk through them. First, the pattern. Is this just a one-off disagreement, or is this same child being targeted over and over? Second, power. Are the kids on equal footing, or does one kid basically control the whole group chat and who gets invited to things? Third, purpose. When it's a conflict, it usually stops when someone gets hurt. But with bullying, it continues, often as a joke, despite the obvious harm. And finally, repair. If it's bullying, the child causing the harm will deny it, blame someone else, or just keep doing it, even after adults step in.
Section 2. The Clear Action Plan. Actionable tools for parents.
All right, let's break down this CLEAR acronym so you know exactly what steps to take. C is for calm your first reaction. Take a breath and listen before calling anyone. L stands for learn the facts. Jot down the who, what, where, and when. Grab screenshots if you need to, but remember, keep them private. E is examine the power and the pattern, exactly what we just talked about. A is ask the right adult for help. Think a teacher or a coach, and use calm facts, not those labels we mentioned. And finally, R is review the plan. Because honestly, a plan isn't finished until adults check back in a few days later to see if the behavior has actually stopped.
To make this super practical, here's a 72-hour family response plan. Day 1, the first 24 hours. Your job is just to listen, check for any immediate safety concerns, and save your proof without sending a single angry message. Hang in there. By the 48-hour mark, sit down and make a small safety plan with your child. Where can they sit at lunch? Who is a safe adult they can run to if they need help? Then, by 72 hours, that is when you contact the school or the activity leader. Give them your clear facts and ask for privacy and monitoring. Once you've got that plan rolling, I highly suggest trying this simple 7-day family check-in. Try asking these 4 questions every day. Where did you feel safe today? Where did you feel left out or watched? Did anything move online? And who helped? Keep these chats super short and breezy, unless your child really wants to open up. This is a game changer for noticing patterns. You know, like, is the problem tied to one specific app? Or maybe it always happens in one particular locker room.
Through this whole process, remember that your words matter immensely. Look at them and say, you do not have to keep a friendship that feels unsafe. Honestly, this is such empowering language. A lot of times, we try to comfort our kids by saying things like, oh, they're just jealous of you. But that kind of just turns friendships into a weird contest, right? We don't actually need to guess the reason. We just need to state, plainly and clearly, that exclusion and rumors are not okay, and they absolutely deserve to feel safe.
And when you do reach out to the school, here is a fantastic specific script you can borrow. You can say, I am asking for a private safety plan. I do not want a public confrontation. You really want to ask educators to monitor those unstructured spaces, because bullying, it thrives right where adults usually aren't looking, at lunch tables, on the bus, in locker rooms, or during group projects. So make sure you're asking them to keep a close eye on those specific social spaces, rather than just asking if they happen to see a fight.
Now, I do need to briefly but very seriously outline when you should totally bypass that 72-hour plan and get emergency help. Quick professional help is an absolute must if there are threats of physical harm, stalking, the sharing of sexual images, or hate-based attacks. The same goes if your child is showing severe sleep problems, refusing to go to school, or having significant mental health struggles. Please always seek emergency help when the danger is immediate. We have definitely covered a lot of ground today, but I want to leave you with this really reassuring truth. Friendship should never require fear, humiliation, or silence. Remember, a calm, informed parent is a child's absolute best advocate. You don't have to wait for a bruise to prove something is wrong, and you certainly don't have to dismiss it as just drama. So I'll leave you with this question to chew on. The next time your child casually mentions a small friendship issue, will you just call it drama, or will you look closer to see what's really happening?